If I had to share the number one question that I get asked on a daily basis, whether it's on Instagram, here on YouTube, or over in the Facebook group, it has to be, which figure should I buy? And today I want to talk about that, but I want to approach it from a different angle. I'd like to talk about 5 figures that you should avoid in your 6-scale collection. Over the past year, I have been enamored with videos on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is about watches. And as somebody who's absolutely never owned a watch, ever in my life have I owned a watch. I'm doing, what a lot of you guys do out there when you start collecting something new is I'm doing research. I'm figuring out, who can learn from and which brands to pick up and what price point to spend and all that kind of fun stuff. And I'm knowing nothing. All I do is I'm appreciating the artistry in it, the craftsmanship, and it's just another gateway into collecting something else. And I ran across a video as I was doing some research that I thought was applicable to the 6-scale collecting. And if you guys want to check out that particular video, I'll put a link in the description below. I'm going to borrow quite a bit from it, just being completely honest. But I'm going to apply it here in the 6-scale world versus the watch world and hopefully bring some insight into this. So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. We're going to talk about 5 figures you should avoid in your 6-scale collecting. Now, I am going to borrow some from this video, but I'm also going to add my own, and I'm going to take away, add and subtract some different things because it is a little different in the world of 6-scale collecting. There are not the number of manufacturers. In fact, if you want to get into watches, there are hundreds of thousands of options. It is absolutely ridiculous the amount of options, whether you want chronograph, you want date just, you want, just ridiculous. You want a diver, you want to spend $30 or you want to spend $250 or $500,000 or even more. The realm is crazy, right? And here in our 6-scale collecting, we stay pretty well in I'd say the $200 realm to the $600 realm, unless you go quarter scale, which might spend a little bit more. But $200, $600, somewhere in that ballpark, is what you're going to end up spending on a typical 6-scale figure or quarter scale figure. And I'm not even talking about statues. That would be even a little bit more if you're looking at 3rd scale Prime 1 Studios piece, or you're looking for a life-size Queen Studios piece or that kind of stuff. You can spend some more. So I think these things we're going to talk about today are going to be applicable in all of those collecting scenarios. Without further ado, the first figure you should avoid is one from a non-reputable source. That's right. So when I get asked questions like which figure should I buy, and you're looking out there, you get the itch to buy something, and you're like, oh man, I want something to add to the collection, right? I want something to add on, and you start looking, you look for it, and you found a deal. You found a deal on the item you're looking for, whether it's a Captain America or an Iron Man or a Stormtrooper or whatever it happens to be, the grail of all grails for you. Maybe it's a K2SO from Rogue One. Maybe it's that one. But you find one, and you find one for a good deal, but it's somebody you don't know. It's a seller you don't know. It's a shop you don't know. It's somebody who has less than stellar ratings in the community. It's somebody who maybe they just created an account on Mercari or eBay. And not to say that they're always bad, but as a collector, you got to be mindful of these type of things. And recently, I've seen a whole bunch of figures listed on Mercari for good prices. I'm talking like a New Hope Luke Skywalker and a New Hope Kenobi, and just different figures out there that were not the easiest figures to get, and they were for good prices. They were decent. I was like, it was below prices, and I was thinking to myself, those are pretty good deals. And you scroll down to the bottom and you look at the seller. Transactions, 0. You go to the next one. Transactions, 0. Feedback, 0. And you're going, as good a deal as that might be, do I really want to risk that? And I gotta say, I don't think it's a very good idea to do that. You can look at that, ones that have no feedback or little feedback, but also the ones that have terrible feedback. Like, you gotta look at that. You're gonna look at people who've had reviews from other collectors or other purchases or that kind of stuff. And you got to look at it and go, you got to make a decision based on if you want to take that chance, and you might have a fine transaction, you might have no problems, but do you want to risk it? That's the questions. So the first one I would say is avoid buying from a non-reputable source. It is not uncommon for a collector to appreciate his figures more than the marketplace does, or even looking at figures, for example, a K2SO, for example, and look at one and you see the supply and demand. You see a price that's, retails about $230, and then you look at the aftermarket or secondary market, and you look at it and you go, well, this thing's trading for $400, $500, $600, and you think you might be able to apply that logic or that ROI, if you will, to the rest of your collection. And then you might be thinking, well, what if if I buy these things and they always appreciate, I'm just investing money in action figures or statues or whatever that is. And while sometimes it might be the case you can do that, you can't predict which one it's going to be. So the second figure you should avoid in your collection is the one that you buy as an investment. You cannot predict which one of these figures or statues or pieces are going to go up in price. Let's talk about Captain Rex. The Sideshow Collectibles Captain Rex Phase 2 armor was one that's trading at $500 to $600. Now, this was a figure that was produced in 2012, 2014, 2015. It's been a few years. Arguably not a great head sculpt. I mean, it's an older figure, it's fine. But due to the limited nature of it, the price was around $500, $600. Now, if you had to go right now and ask somebody to pay $500 for a Sideshow Collectibles 1/6 scale Captain Rex, they'd probably look at you cross-eyed and just smack you, probably is what they would do. Knowing that Hot Toys recently released a superior version of that figure right now and absolutely crushed the price on that Sideshow Collectibles version. The Hot Toys one currently you can actually get below retail at a lot of places right there. And at some point, it probably will get back up to retail when it eventually sells out. But will it ever hit the $500, price range? I don't know. Or will Hot Toys or some other manufacturer come out with a new, better version of it in the future and absolutely crush that market again? So looking at your figures or your collection as a whole as an investment, not a great plan. You are going to win on some, but more than likely you're going to lose on all of them, which means if you bought something thinking it's going to be an investment, you're only going to be looking at it for the value perspective and not for the appreciation of the art, the character, the display ability, whatever that is. And you're always going to be in the back of your mind going, man, did I make a good decision? And you're never going to really appreciate that figure because you purposely purchased it for the purpose of investing. Now, I want to flip that around because that's certainly true in the watch world, but I want to flip it around for the 6 scale collecting because I think a lot of this happens where collectors look at trends of prices or something's about to go waitlist. We've got a new figure, it's about to hit waitlist in some of the retail spaces. They're about to sell out of their stock they've got. And the 6 scale psychics, I guess, for the lack of a better word, I don't know where you want to go with. Fortune tellers go out there and say, hey, look, this figure's about to sell out, and I am guaranteeing you it's going to go up in price. I guarantee you it's going to go up in price. And then you go, well, I think I might want this figure, or it might be a good investment, which we just got done talking about. But I think I might want this figure, but I'd like to get it before it sells out because I'm afraid to pay that secondary market price a little later. So you get into missing out. You don't want to miss out. So you get this fear of missing out, and you purchase something that if you really wanted it, you probably would have purchased it way before it was approaching getting ready to sell out, but you didn't. And the reason you didn't purchase it was a reason that only you know, whether it be finances or whether it be you didn't really have the attachment to that particular figure that released that character that warranted you spending the $200, $300, $400 out of pocket to get it in your collection. But because that fear of missing out comes on, you pull the trigger, you buy it, it ends up at your doorstep, you get delivery, you unbox it, you go, okay, I got it. And then after that, you go, now what? And that's what you do. And it's happened to all of us. I've done it. Everybody out here has done it. And that's why I'm warning you. The second figure you should avoid is the one you purchase just as an investment, but also one you purchased just out of fear of missing out because you were afraid you might want it later and you didn't feel like paying the secondary price. This one is absolutely, I should have put this one as number 1, but I put it at number 3, and they're not really ranked in any particular form or fashion for this thing. But the third one's going to be, you should avoid buying the figure that somebody else said you should buy. That's it. Simple as that. Make your own decisions. Collect what you like, not based on what somebody else says. I see this every single day, whether, again, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is. I'm thinking about buying this. Should I buy it? Or would you buy A or B? And you know what the answer from the collector community is? Both. You should buy A and B. That's always the answer, right? And the answer is always, yes, you should buy that. So the problem with consensus buying and group buying, I guess, if you will, is you're the one that has to enjoy this figure in your collection. Unless you have a group of people in your town that literally come by and view your collection as a museum, nobody else is ever going to see it. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to appreciate it. You're going to get that box. You're going to be alone in your room, or maybe your significant other. They're going to be, and maybe you both collect. And you're going to say, well, so-and-so said this was a good figure. So-and-so said this is a bad figure. So-and-so said this is a must-have figure, and I had to have it because so-and-so said so. Right? Not a good reason to buy something. Absolutely not. Now, here on YouTube, obviously, I review figures or statues, collectibles, different things like that. And I have my own opinions, just like other reviewers have their opinions about figures. And whether I like something or I don't like something really is completely irrelevant to your collection. It absolutely is relevant. I share my opinions on here because this is my format to share my thoughts. But it doesn't mean you have to agree with it. And it certainly doesn't mean just because I like something, you should also therefore go purchase something. It does not mean that. And vice versa. Because I don't like something doesn't mean you should not buy something. I'll try to share you the pros and cons, the good and the bad and the ugly, and you make your own informed decision, but you got to make that decision for yourself. I'm not buying the figures for you, and you're not buying the figures for me. So the third figure you've got to avoid in your collection is the one that somebody else said you should get. Every collector knows this. You go out, you go to a toy shop on the weekends, you go to a con on the weekends in the springtime, and you look at pieces and you're going, oh man, I really want this particular piece, whatever that piece is, right? It could be a grail piece, it could be something that's not released yet, it could be that K2SO or whatever it is, and you really want that one, but you can't have it now. Now, it could be that it's not releasing yet, you got another 6 months to wait, 3 months, 8 months, whatever that is, or it could be you don't quite have the funds to buy that particular piece yet, that statue, that figure, and you haven't saved up quite enough. So instead of saving up a little bit more, squirreling away a little bit more cash for that prize piece you want in your collection, you go, I will settle, and because I can get this today. Now, I'm not looking down on anybody that's done that. Everybody is. If you collect anything, you have done that. No question about it. Absolutely. All right, but what we've got to do is we got to rise above that. We got to, keep our funds a little tighter, right? And make better decisions. And that's why I think the fourth figure you got to try to avoid in your collection is the one you can have now versus the one you really want, right? And it could be that long sought after piece, that OG way back in the day Batman 1989 figure. It could be the DX01. It could be the DX07 Luke Skywalker. It could be whatever that is. And instead of spending $500 or $600 on an older piece, you can spend $200 now, and you can have something in hand when all the time you're going to be thinking, man, I could have had that one. Only you have the vision for what you want your collection to look like. For me, I think it's pretty obvious what I want my collection, at least my collection room, to look like. I got freaking Star Wars Death Star panels over here. I've got a lightsaber display rack over here. I've got clone troopers. I got Death Star panels over there. I got helmets. I've got plans for a life-size figure in here, Star Wars piece as well. So I don't really think it's a misconception of what I want my collection room to look like. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have a few Marvel pieces in here, but there are some pieces that I absolutely would love to have, but they don't fit. They just don't match my collection, even though they look amazing, and they really do. They look amazing, but do I want them just because I've got that itch I want to scratch and I just think it's amazing and I want to appreciate the artwork, or do I want it because it actually fits in my collection? I think you've got to make that decision. We often will buy things that don't fit. I'll give you an example. Here, just today, I got reminded that I ordered something 6 months ago that totally does not fit in my collection where it sits today. I am excited to have it. I am going to display it at my work office because I have it coming. But if I had to do it again for myself, as awesome as I think this particular piece is, and I'll do a review on it later, I'll tell you which one it is. Stay tuned. As awesome as that particular piece is, if I had thought to myself, does this fit in your collection? I probably wouldn't have bought it. I don't think I would have bought it. I really don't. And I bought it out of an emotional response. I bought it because I appreciated it, like the way it looks, and I think on the shelf it's going to look amazing. But at the end of the day, and at the end of the month and end of the year, when I go back and look at all the pieces I added to the collection, whether I added or subtracted some, I'm going to think, did you really need that? Did you really need to add that to the collection? So the fifth figure I think you should avoid in your collection is the one that does not fit in your collection. And I just think you just gotta make some decisions about that. So the questions get asked all the time, what should I buy? And I thought today would be a great opportunity to say, these are the 5 you should avoid. And hopefully this will help somebody out there. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. What mistakes have you made in the past? And let me know your thoughts on this thing. I'm hoping this helps out some either newer collectors or even veteran collectors who are getting kind of crazy and just buying everything that drops and just there's no direction for where they want to go with their collection. But I hope this helps somebody out there. I appreciate you guys. If you want to see more stuff like this on the channel, let me know in the comment section down below, and let me know by hitting the like button. I very much appreciate it. As always, click what you like. See you next time.